Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Thursday, the 13th of March. I'm CJ Baumgartner. No Corey Tackman today. We got our guy Zeke joining us on the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Zeke, you are down at the state tournament, but you're not quite at Williams Arena yet. Tell the good folks where you're at.
I am at Chick-fil-A, and I really hope that they are still serving breakfast. That's my big hope and dream for the day.
10:30 is like the threshold, I think, traditionally for most fast food breakfasts. So you're getting it in right under the wire. But I've only been to Chick-fil-A for breakfast a couple times, but man, that breakfast is
it hits different, and that's part of the fun of traveling for sports is you get to eat things that you don't get to eat at home all the time. And
exactly. When we're home, we eat at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. When we're out of town, we go to Chick-fil-A. That's just the rule. We're going to talk to you a little bit about some girls state basketball tournament stuff, because I know you've been doing some of the games for Alexandria and just talking with some of the Brainerd folks and just paying attention to other things across the area with stuff like that. But first, I do want to mention that we had just a great game on the Superstation last night, because it was really good. I was talking with Corey in the show yesterday between Henning and Ada-Borup-West. This was a matchup where last year Ada-Borup-West was able to beat Henning in this same spot in the North subsection championship game of 6A from the Hive in Durham. I was telling Corey, this is going to be probably one of the best games I've called this year, and it fit the billing. It was a 71-69 victory for Henning, and Ada-Borup-West got a quick 2-0 lead. Henning was able to jump out to about an 8-2 lead, and then eventually tied up at 12 in the early part of the game, but was eventually able for Henning to go on a little bit of a run, give themselves a lead. They were able right at the end of the first half to be able to make things happen for them, and just to be able to go into halftime with a 36-30 lead. And from all accounts, they were playing really, really well. And the second half is when things really started to kind of heat up for Henning. They were able to start off to begin the second half on an 8-4 run, which isn't huge, but it gave them about a 10-11 point lead midway through, or at least at the early part of the second half. And then their offense, Zeke, went 5 minutes without scoring in game time. And in any other game, in any other situation, especially on this stage, you'd think that'd be enough to sink a team. But Henning plays such great man-to-man defense in the half court that they didn't lose the lead and really didn't even threaten to lose the lead. Then Logan Kostelecki has back-to-back threes on back-to-back possessions. He finished with about 17 points in the game, and those kind of got the Henning offense going again. The Hornets kind of coming down the stretch, Zeke. I know you did their game on Saturday afternoon, and the thing Saturday afternoon was the fact that Henning had a lead in the second half. Things got a little tight at the end, and it came down to free throws. And, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often kind of rhymes, because that's exactly what happened in this game for Henning. With 2 minutes to go, they had a 63-59 lead. Kale Misagatis goes 4 for 4 at the free throw line. Logan Kostelecki goes 2 for 2 at the free throw line in the final couple minutes to give them enough of a buffer. Ada-Borup-West was able to make a 3 at the buzzer to make it 71-69. There was a second left on the clock. They tried to call a timeout as Ada-Borup-West. They didn't have one to call, so the clock expires. The game is over. Henning wins. Kale Misagatis chips in 26 points for the Hornets. They all around played great offensively, hitting about their season average. And then, of course, defensively, they gave up 69 points, but that's an Ada-Borup-West team that also averages above 70 points a game. So you held them below their season average. Just a really nice game. And talking with Coach Misagatis, there was a couple things that stood out. One was that for Henning, I was like, do you want revenge? Is that something you think about? And he's like, no, not really. Ada-Borup is just the next team on the schedule. We want to get to the state tournament. To get to the state tournament, you have to win your section. To win your section, you have to win one game in front of you in the tournament. We're in the subsection final game. We got to beat Ada-Borup-West to get to the section final game. They're going to play West Central area Friday night. Get into more of that in a second. But and then the other thing was the fact of like, how do you feel like you match up with Ada-Borup-West? And he's like, we match up really well. He's like, we don't think we need to do anything extra special defensively. We're going to play straight up. We're going to play man-to-man. We're going to play half court, and we are just going to impose our will. And they were able to do that and able to provide great defensive presence. And it's just something that they've hung their hat on. As good of an offensive team as they are, they really hang their hat on defense, and they always have over this kind of 7-8 year stretch that they've been playing at. This was the 6th time, Zeke, in the last 7 years that Henning has been in the subsection final game. And now this will be, I believe it's the 4th time in the last 8 seasons that they're going to be in a section championship game. So this is a big deal for Henning. They were able to get the win here last night in Purim, and they are going to go to Memorial Auditorium on Concordia College campus in Moorhead on Friday night, 5:45 pregame, 6 o'clock tip-off. You best believe we're going to have coverage of that game right here on the Superstation K106. You can find the full broadcast schedule, but that's pretty much it at WadenaRadio.com. You can also follow Sports Cow on Facebook. Zeke, can I get a moo?
Moo.
All right. So
a little distracted over here.
A little distracted in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, trying to see if the person was going to give you your food and you just moo. But anyway, that's it's going to be a really nice game. We'll preview it a little bit more tomorrow on tomorrow's episode. But what a really nice win for Coach Misagatis in that program to get a win. Had some big shots from Keegan Bjerke, had some shots from Kostelecki, had obviously 26 from Misagatis. Reinbold chipped in a couple when it mattered. So it'll just be a really fun game on Friday night. Moving over to a game Corey had on KNSP The Fan between Staples-Motley and Pequot Lakes. You feel like maybe the better neutral site, Zeke, would be to play in Brainerd, but they end up going all the way to Romano Gym on the University of Minnesota Duluth campus. 2 former mid-state rivals playing in the Section 7AA semifinal game. Pequot Lakes was able to get the better of Staples-Motley in that one as the Patriots end up winning that game. They go on to the section final game for a rematch with ESCO, as ESCO beat Pierce 79-66. Pequot Lakes beat Staples-Motley 59-37. So a 1-2 matchup. The Eskimos and the Patriots will play on Friday night, 6 o'clock tip-off from Romano Gym. But Staples-Motley's season does come to a close, and for a boys basketball team that really just had it's a weird way to say it considering why, but they just had a little bit of a rough start to the year. Obviously, they started late because of football going to the prep bowl. They had a couple injuries to begin the year, and they really just they jumped right into games. They had like 3 practices and boom, game. So they kind of had to figure stuff out on the fly. On top of that, they were jumping into a new conference. They were going from the mid-state to the Heart of Lakes, which is a very competitive conference in AA with a couple A schools sprinkled in there. There was a lot of change, a lot of things happening for Staples-Motley boys basketball. But I think if you talk to the coaching staff, I think if you talk to the team, the fan base overall, you would say, all that considered, you're still going to get to the 7AA semifinal game. I mean, that's just a win of a season, I think, all around.
Yeah, it was huge for that program, especially for the reasons you mentioned. And yesterday, I know Corey texted about this a little bit, but Josiah Burton, the big man inside, woke up with pneumonia yesterday, and so you have to deal with that before the game. And Pequot Lakes, I mean, if you're missing one of your biggest defenders inside, I mean, they're gonna eat you up, and that's exactly what the Patriots did last night. And that's a good program in Pequot Lakes, and now they get rival ESCO in the championship. That'll be a great game too.
Yeah, that should be really fun. And for Staples-Motley, like we talked about, Zeke, first year in a new conference. I know you had a chance to maybe catch a couple games throughout the season, but you're familiar with that Heart of Lakes. You know that it's a very competitive conference to play in. How do you think Staples-Motley held up with their first year in, kind of adjusting to that new level?
I think they did okay. There was some growing pains in there. I mean, it's the Heart of Lakes. I mean, they've been playing these guys for a while. You're just moving from the mid-state standings where you've got Crosby-Ironton, who's usually really good in boys basketball. You've got Pequot Lakes, who jumped out of the mid-state 2 years ago, but now you get to go against DGF, who's a solid team. You get to go against Purim, who I think is the number 2 seed in the 8-2A playoffs this year. You get Barnesville, who's rebuilt that program and is competitive. The Holly Nuggets have a strong boys basketball history, and so kind of jumping from the mid-state, it's a little bit different where you're not facing CI, you're not facing Pequot, but there's still a lot of really good talent in that Heart of Lakes conference.
Yeah, Staples-Motley finished 8-8 this season in the HOL. And if you look in the standings, that's good enough for 5th place. They kind of finished here just right smack dab in the middle out of those 10 teams in the conference. So, yeah, not a bad season overall for the Cardinals. They get to the Section 7AA semifinal game. They got an upset over Barnum. And just overall, I think that's the second year in a row that they've been able to do that and get to this same spot. Of course, they had to face Pequot Lakes both times, so that's necessarily maybe not. Maybe you want to try and avoid that matchup again. But overall, a successful year of Staples-Motley Cardinal boys basketball that now comes to a close. Zeke, you were down at the state girls basketball tournament yesterday for the opening kind of ceremonies, if you will. You were at the Maturi Pavilion for a little matchup. You don't need to give us the full recap, but Alexandria girls basketball trying to get down there and make some noise.
Yeah, this has been a weekend that Alexandria has had circled on their calendar for the last 3 or 4 years, because this is that big group of seniors that's been taking their lumps. They've had their growing pains, and now this is the culmination of all of that. Alexandria took 3rd place last year. They lost to De La Salle in the semifinals. Well, they had a rematch with De La Salle yesterday, a team that's averaging like 75 points a game. Alexandria held them to 40 points.
Wow,
16% from beyond the arc last night. De La Salle has a D1 commit in Anisha Scott. She's going to go play at Richmond in Virginia. She had a team high 11 points yesterday. Alexandria defense was phenomenal. Maybe the best game I've seen them play all season. Alexandria wins 60-40. Now they're back in the semifinals for a second consecutive season. And now they have defending state champ Benilde St. Margaret's, a team that handed them one of their 4 losses at the end of January. And so now they've got them at noon today, which will be another great matchup. Alexandria, they've got 4 girls that are going to play basketball at the collegiate level. Hadley Tools going to South Dakota State. They've got a future BSU Beaver on their roster. They've got Auguste and Southwest Minnesota State. So this is a group of seniors who have been to state. This is their 3rd straight season at state. They know what to do. They know how to compete at this level, and they're going against some of the top talent in the state. And this is they had a very competitive schedule this year. I think they're 5-4 against teams that are down here at state this weekend. They beat Brainerd twice. They were the 8-4A champions. They bowed out yesterday. They beat Lakeville North in Class 4A. Lakeville North beat Brainerd yesterday. They played Providence Academy, who's vying for their 4th straight Class 2A championship. They played Benilde St. Margaret's. They lost to Marshall to start the season. So they've been planning this weekend for a long time in Alexandria. They've been playing a very competitive schedule, and we'll see what happens against the Red Knights at noon today.
I know you mentioned Brainerd there. They're playing in their consolation semifinal game as we're speaking right now. There's also a couple other teams. Crosby-Ironton is down in the mix at state tournament. How'd they do yesterday?
Tory Orland had a double-double at halftime in their game yesterday. So that's all you need to know about what the CI Rangerettes did. And it'll be fun, because last year in the semifinals it was CI versus Providence Academy. This year Providence is the 1, CI is the 2, and so potentially what happens tonight, or maybe tomorrow, I'm not sure what the Class 2A schedule is. Those games, the semifinals, maybe tomorrow night. We could see that anticipated Maddie Greenway versus Tory Orline matchup in the state championship this year.
Yeah, games will be played tomorrow. 6 o'clock tip-off from Williams Arena for Providence Academy in Minnewaska area. And then in the 2-3, Crosby-Ironton versus Minnehaha Academy will tip off at 8 o'clock from the barn. Again, both those games tomorrow night. The Class A bracket gets going today, and a little bit of local action going on. I know Walker Hackensack Akeley's going in. They have a Miss Basketball candidate in Aubrey Morrison. Who do they play?
They only have 2-time defending state champion Goodhue at 11 o'clock today. So no big deal.
Darn it. That's a tough draw, round 1. But hey, and that Walker Hackensack Akeley team hits their shots, and I know that could be true about any team, but this is another level. When they get hot offensively, you can't stop them from beyond the arc. So it'll be really fascinating to see what they can do, and if they can try and get that upset there. So that's a little bit of a check on the girls basketball tournament. Anything else? Any other things you want to put out there about the vibes of being down at the state girls basketball tournament?
A lot of people down here. This is my first time covering girls state basketball, and so I wasn't sure what to expect, and just just loads and loads of people here. I got to sit behind the De La Salle fans yesterday when I was doing the game courtside at Maturi, and Alexandria was across the way, and it was loud. And I sat behind Benilde St. Margaret's for that first game, that Benilde St. Margaret's versus Stewartville matchup, and the fans are going back and forth. I haven't seen this before, but they were playing Marco Polo. Have you seen this, where one side yells Marco and the other side yells Polo, and they go back and forth? And it was like 2 minutes of Marco Polo,
like the
Marco.
Student sections, or just the fan bases broadly?
The student sections. it was awesome. I mean, Benilde's was up by like 30 points at this point, so it's just trying to keep things interesting, and the fans just having fun, enjoying the moment, enjoying the environment, and yeah, it was a good time.
Awesome. What's it like calling a game from the pavilion? I called the game from the barn last year for Perham and Providence Academy in the girls basketball tournament. Did not call it from the pavilion, but like you said, it still gets pretty loud in there, despite the fact it's a little more open. But it's still, how's that calling a basketball game there?
Yeah, a little more open, a little smaller, so the fans are right on top of you. You look up and you see all the wrestling banners. You see the Gable Steveson banners and the team championships for wrestling and all that. But actually, the Cardinals play at the barn at noon today, so I'll be jumping from Maturi over to Williams Arena. I've never called a game over there too, so kind of double dip it and getting that barn experience. So I think now that just this school season, we did the state football championship at US Bank Stadium. Corey and I came down and did the Unified Monaga basketball game at Target Center, and now yesterday Maturi Pavilion, and today is Williams Arena. So all that's left really is Target Field for Parker's Prairie when they make state baseball again. And
you were so close to doing that last spring.
I know. We were most of the way down there, and the game got called due to rain. So Corey and I turned around. So I was this close to crossing all 5 of those off my list this season.
You were within a span of 12 months. You had a chance to cross all of them off. You were going on a generational run, and it stopped in its tracks. So that's a shame. But no, have fun with the raised floor. It's a weird vibe because you're going to sit on the far side of the scorer's table, and you're going to be basically eye level with the floor. It's very fun, but then you're like, oh, shoot, like a basketball could just come and hit me. Like, it's going to hit me right in the head, not in the chest.
Look alive.
Straight in the dome. Yeah, protect the laptop at all costs. But yeah, it's a fun atmosphere to call games down at the barn, and hopefully we'll get some more from you there. Zeke, we got to talk a little Timberwolves, speaking of teams that play at the Target Center. But before we talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves and the fact that they've extended their winning streak to a season high, we first need to talk about the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. It is a great place to go and eat, and just to go and hang out and do all the things that you need to do. And we were talking about this yesterday, but you weren't here, so I want to tell you again. Have you tried the stuffed crust pizza at Pizza Ranch and FunZone and Arcade, Zeke? Yes.
Whenever we get to go order, we get one regular pepperoni, and we get one crispy pepperoni stuffed crust. It's a must have at our house.
Good. Love to hear it, because you can find unlimited stuffed crust on the buffet, or like you do, Zeke, order your favorite combination on stuffed crust for takeout. You'll also earn double points for your purchases every Wednesday. So on Wednesday, that's stuffed crust pizza day. You might as well make it a thing, because the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade has you covered with the great stuffed crust pizza and the fact you get double points on the purchase with your ranch rewards. And if you want to go in and order those pizza and eat off the buffet, that's great too, because while you're waiting for that pizza to cook, you can go play at the FunZone Arcade and go spend all your time on all those great games that they offer. And you can even get some tickets to win some great prizes, including these mystery jerseys that are so awesome that have been making the rounds. It's really just a great time all around. The Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena, proud sponsors of the Morning Sports Desk. All right, Zeke, the Minnesota Timberwolves have won 6 games in a row, and there's this cycle, Zeke. It's fighting the masculine urge to say we're back 5 minutes after saying it's over. The Wolves had a 4-game losing streak and did not look real great. And then all of a sudden, Julius Randle came back. All of a sudden, Rudy Gobert came back. And all of a sudden, the Wolves have won 6 games in a row, toppling the 2nd seed in the West right now in Denver, to do it on the road at Ball Arena and they are now 3-0 against the Nuggets this season. The Wolves have won 6 in a row. They are tied with the Warriors for the 6th seed in the NBA. The Wolves have 15 games to go, one of the easiest schedules in the NBA remaining, and a great opportunity to stack up wins to try and avoid the play-in tournament. The vibes at Target Center feel immaculate right now.
They do. I think that that Julius Randle had the quote of the year last night when it comes to covering who I think should win the NBA MVP, Nikola Jokic. We'd rather give him 40 than give him 30, 20, 20, because if he has 20 assists, the Nuggets are going to beat you, because he's really the only real scoring threat. I mean, Jamal Murray doesn't scare me. I mean, I shouldn't say that 2 months ahead of the playoffs.
Yeah, it doesn't scare me.
Yeah, he doesn't scare me.
When he's throwing heat packs.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Russell Westbrook doesn't scare me. Christian Braun doesn't scare me. Michael Porter Jr. doesn't scare me. None of these guys scare me, but Jokic does. And if you let Jokic score at will inside or whatever he's doing, yeah, because let him have what he wants. If he's not dishing it out and doing what he does that way, you have a really good chance to win that ball game. And the Wolves showed that last night. I texted you and Corey last night. I don't think I've ever seen Nikola Jokic dunk, and he took a coast to coast something, dunked, 2 hands on the Wolves. I'm like, oh no, Jokic is dunking. He's upset. Wolves lose. Then he came back down the floor and airballed a 3. I'm like, okay, Jokic isn't feeling it. Wolves are back. Then the next possession, another 2-handed dunk down the lane. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. And then the Wolves, they find a way last night. Yeah. With Randle, I think the Wolves are 10-0 in the last 10 games with Julius Randle, just a complete turnaround from the way things looked early. Dante DiVincenzo was playing great. He had a huge block on, I think it was Christian Braun last night, that got reviewed, overturned. So he's rim protector Dante DiVincenzo now or something like that. Rudy Gobert had some big defensive plays, and Ant doing what Ant does. He has 29, 30 points last night in that win, and it just things are rolling. I just hope that they're not like the Minnesota Wild and they're peaking too early, because the Wild definitely peaked in the first half of the season. They are getting some
Wild peaking too early. That never happens with them.
Never happens. So no, this Wolves team, they've got the chemistry. They're getting. They got the confidence building games from Terrence Shannon Jr. and Jaden Clark, who got off that 2-way contract. And so with Randle and Gobert missing that time, getting those guys in, getting those guys confident in what they can do, getting the coaching staff confident in what those guys can do. I haven't even mentioned Naz Reid yet. I mean, Naz Reid having himself a heck of a game last night too. So it's fun. In 15 games left, and you have a chance to knock Jimmy Butler from the top 6 down to the play-in round. I'm all about that.
Yeah, I'm all in for knocking down Jimmy Butler a peg or two, so that does help out a lot. And also, I mean, since Julius Randle has come back, he has looked like a completely different player. And not only that, he's scoring, and we always knew he could score, but he's doing a better job at reading the floor. He's making those extra passes. I mean, a couple wins ago, the passes he was able to make down low, dishing out to Naz for open looks. The ball movement with this team is really well. Jaden McDaniels is playing the best ball of his career. This is a team that feels like they're coming into their own, and the Western Conference is tough. I mean, the Thunder are in a class of their own. The Nuggets are good. The Lakers are good, and then you look at the things that obviously the Warriors are finding their footing. There's a couple other teams in the mix, but this is a Wolves team that no team scares me if I'm the Wolves. And that's the fun part. You go into this playoff, and the Wolves just beat up on the Thunder. And there was another team, I can't remember. Maybe it was the Thunder. I don't know. But, like, if you look at opposing fan bases, they went, avoid Minnesota in the first round. How can we make sure we're on the opposite side of the bracket as Minnesota? Teams around the league are saying that about you. That's how you know that you're playing well. And that just feels really good, you know?
Love it.
Everything about it. Zeke, any other Wolves takes you want to get off your chest before we let you get out of here and enjoy your Chick-fil-A?
I don't think so. I have tip off in, let's see, 40. Hold on, I'm terrible. I went to Staples. I'm terrible at math. It's 10:37. I have a game at noon, so I got a boogie here pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll let you get out of here. Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. We'll see you next time.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.